Welcome back to the Real Power Podcast, Episode 3, and I have a very special guest across from me today, Mr. Mark Siwiec. Mark is the broker and owner of Elysian Homes, one of Rochester's most prominent real estate figures with 30-plus years of experience in the industry. In 2023, his team sold over $92 million in real estate and is one of the top teams in all of Western New York. He's a real estate investor, he's a philanthropist, and in my opinion, he's one of the most respected individuals in our city. Mark Siwiec, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. Are you kidding, bud? This is an honor, and I really mean that.
Thank you.
Because how many years have we known each other?
I think going on maybe four plus years now.
And I'm not just saying this, but I am such an enormous fan of yours.
Well, thank you.
I can't believe what you do.
Well, and before we start, I want to tell a quick story about you because when I first started my business back in 2020, was just starting to get things going, you were introduced to me by my mom, actually. And I don't know if you know this story, but
No.
The reason we connected is your previous, I don't know if she was a listing coordinator, Nicole.
Oh, my office manager for like 15 years. Yeah,
Yes.
Nicole. I love Nicole.
Wonderful woman.
Yeah.
Her daughter actually went to school with my younger sister, and they met at a function. I don't know what it was.
I completely forgot about this.
My mom was like, so my son just started this real estate photography business, and I know you're on Mark's team, and if you could maybe, make an introduction. And she gave me your email. I reached out the next day, and boom, had like 4 listings to do the next week. And I was like, boom, we were in it. But you were a huge reason that we were able to build so much momentum in the beginning. And I really can't thank you enough for being such a big reason why we were able to get to where we are.
But it goes both ways. I mean, honestly, you make our life so much easier. And I mean, there are so many things, and I got to be careful because otherwise, I'll just end up conducting the interview of you. So so cut me short. But I'm always so impressed and amazed that you never stop generating the ideas, one after another. And so one of the things that's so incredible is that you built this website early on, and my team, if I can go on to you, if I can find your website, and if I can go on and if I can order photos in a drone video and be done and out within 1 minute, literally, like it is done and it's over with. The ease of use. And I was sitting in an appointment yesterday, and then I'll turn it back over to you. I was sitting in an appointment yesterday with 2 of the guys from your team. I don't know how it is that you have found just such incredibly kind and really, really good, earnest young men around you. Every time they walk into a property, they take their shoes off. They say, "Excuse me, do you mind if I do this?" They walk out the door. They turn off all the lights. They blow out all the candles. Like, this sounds like small stuff, but
it's the stuff that matters.
It's the stuff that matters. And every time I see these guys, we're always just so grateful and glad to be working with them.
Well, I'm very happy to hear that. And from the beginning, I knew that we needed to do more than just produce high quality photo and video. The customer experience is something that I value so much, and I think is attributed to our growth because we treat every client like that, like family, like we'll bend over backwards to make sure things get done, and that's just how we roll.
Yeah. I mean, I will leave you with this, and then we'll segue into whatever you want to talk about. But it's probably at least once a month that I'm approached by somebody about, hey, my name is Susie Cupcake, and I'm interested in taking photos of your And I just over and over. I mean, like I'd love to, but I kind of love the guy and the team and the group that are doing work for us already. So
thank you.
There you have
Mark.
it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, let's jump into you because we've got a lot to talk about. I've got a lot of questions here. We'll get through as many as we can, but let's start with why real estate? What made you get into this crazy industry?
Do you know the story?
You may have told me, but I don't tell the audience.
So my dad's a cop in the city of Buffalo. And I get a scholarship to go to the U of R. I don't know what to do. I don't realize that I'm supposed to be at the U of R, like figuring out what to do with the rest of my life. So I get a degree in political science. Useless degree. And the first job that I get out of school, I couldn't find anything to do. The first job that I get out of school back in the mid-'80s was working for the state health department, ostensibly doing HIV counseling and testing.
Okay.
On the first day that I'm in this new job. They hand me a notebook. They say, go talk to this guy. It's like, okay, great. What do you want me to say to him? Tell him that he's got gonorrhea. And we need to get you to tell everybody, we need to find out who he's had sex with in the past 6 weeks. And you got to go and you got to tell everybody that he's had sex with that they need to come into the office and get themselves tested and treated for gonorrhea.
What a task.
And I'm like, okay. So I did this for a year, and I knew every drug dealer and every prostitute in town.
Shit.
The days are clicking by, and I'm thinking, this is not what I had in store. Like, these were not the dreams that I had when I was growing up. And so I had no mentors, no direction. I didn't know. I had no idea what I was going to do. I only knew that the men and women who I saw running in and out of Lowenguth Realty on Park Avenue, they were all dressed beautifully. They were all driving expensive cars. And I thought, well, okay, anybody can get their real estate license. Yeah. So I got my real estate license, and that was that.
Wow, that's insane. And what year was this?
This was 1990.
1990, so
34 years ago. Yeah.
I mean, you're a veteran.
Thank you for that.
So years and years and years of experience. Is there any, do you have, I know you probably have tons of stories. Is there any one craziest story in your 30 plus years that just sticks with you? Like, this was the craziest experience I've ever had.
Oh
in real
gosh,
estate?
I wish you would prep me for that. You know what? Ask me another question, and I'll try and think of a crazy story.
Okay.
But
as you're thinking,
yeah.
So the real estate market today is tough. There's a lot going on.
A lot, yeah.
But there's still people getting into the game who want to make this their full-time thing. What advice do you have for a new agent who wants to become a real estate agent and be successful at it? Is there any words of wisdom to that first-time agent? Don't do it. Stay away. Run away.
At least in the short term. So probably once a month at a minimum, I have somebody who comes into the office because they want to sell real estate and they want to sit down and they want to chat with me. And I'm always thrilled to do it. I would say that 80 or 85% of the time, I'm telling people that they should not sell real estate because they're just not cut out for it.
Yeah.
85% of everybody who gets their real estate license is not selling real estate after 2 years. The barriers to entry are so minimal. You fog this mirror. You got a pulse. Okay, here's your license.
Yeah.
But everybody just everybody just thinks it's so easy, and it is so. And it's less about me, but more to prove the point. If you're new to the industry and you're interested in selling real estate, you go on a listing appointment, and they're interviewing you or they're interviewing me. And I've got you, and I've got a listing coordinator and a social media coordinator, and I've got an intake professional, and I've got a transaction coordinator, et cetera, et cetera. There's just no way that they're going to prevail. And so I say that not because I'm trying to be defeatist, but if somebody is interested in doing this for a living, I would suggest a few things. One, wait until the end of this year, the beginning part of next, because there is nothing. There are currently in the 6-county region about 725 homes available for sale.
And what's the normal number that
should be? There should be 3 times that amount.
Holy shit. Yeah.
So that's one. Two, when you take out of that 725, about 175 of those properties are priced at $200,000 or less, meaning that they're properties in the ghetto. So there are about 550 properties available for sale in the 6-county region. There are 3,600 agents who are licensed to sell. So it's just very, very, very difficult. So one, if somebody's interested, they should definitely wait. Two, they should definitely align themselves with the team, because the reason I went through the story a moment ago about somebody going up against me, it's not about me. It's about the difficulty that somebody's going to have unless they align themselves and attach themselves to a real estate team, so they can actually then go on listing appointments and learn the ropes.
And that was going to kind of be my point too, about if you're going to do it, finding the right mentor and the right team to learn underneath is so,
you see it.
I don't know if you knew this. I had my real estate license before I started the whole photography thing. No. And I did it, and I didn't, I was only in it for a little bit back in 2019, early 2020. Before COVID hit and everything, shit hit the fan, but I had no fucking clue what I was doing, and I didn't have.
Oh, we can say fuck.
Oh, you can say whatever you want
on
here.
Thank you.
If I had been on a team like yours, I think I think my path would have been different because being underneath, let's just call it what it is, the top team in our market, that would have changed the trajectory of my career. And I think if you really want to go for it, get underneath the right mentorship and the people that can help you.
Yeah, and again, you're first of all, you're very, very kind. But secondly, yeah, whether it's me or or there are good teams out there, but the bulk and the majority. I mean, the majority of agents, and I don't say this again to be unkind, but the majority of agents shouldn't be selling because they don't know what they're doing, not because they have an inherent fault. I blame it on the brokers. It's a numbers game for the brokers who are out there. They just keep hiring people knowing that only 15% of everybody they bring into their office is actually going to make it. And they don't spend any time, any money mentoring people, educating them, trying to get them to become good, decent agents. And then you couple on top of that last week's Department of Justice settlement with the National Association of
Planning on
Realtors.
getting into that. Yep, absolutely.
And so it's going to make it even more difficult for buyers agents to actually make money.
So real quick, why don't you just give a quick rundown? Because even I'm still a little foggy on it.
Sure.
In your words, what happened with the NAR settlement?
Yeah. So in short, the Department of Justice, they have found that the NAR has been involved and engaged in anti-competitive business practices for decades, and so there is a 485 an enormous amount of money that the NAR is being fined. What it basically says is that sellers no longer have to pay the commission of the agent who is representing the buyer that prevails on an offer that is written on the home.
Right.
So buyers now have to figure out how is it that I'm going to find a buyer, which is difficult in and of itself, and then B, how am I going to convince them that they need to pay me money? And again, if you're brand like we will be able to sit down and say, hey, listen, we'll be able to get you into properties before they go on the market for sale. We're not just door openers. We're going to tell you what the value of the property is. We're going to be able to tell you whether or not it needs a new roof, et cetera, et cetera. And then we're not going to just fill out the purchase offer. We're going to actually we are going to sell your offer. We are going to promote your offer. We are going to fight to make sure that you prevail. And we've got all sorts of relationships with our colleagues that, and I won't go into those right now, but we've got all sorts of relationships with our colleagues that allow for the phone to ring like, hey, you came in number 3, but if you give us another $700, $800, you're going to be number 1. And so that's the value added that we bring to the process. And if somebody is just starting out, that's very, very, very hard. And again, it goes back to what we said a moment ago. If you're thinking about doing this, align yourself with a team.
Absolutely, 100%. With that said, a real estate agent is one path you can take, becoming an entrepreneur, because that's what you're doing when you're becoming a real estate agent. You're an entrepreneur. You're owning your own business.
Yeah.
And I was telling you off camera that the purpose of this show is to guide people in 2 arenas. Entrepreneurship and real estate investing. As 2 separate worlds here, they can be, and for me specifically, I know for you, a very, very powerful way to build wealth for yourself and financial freedom. If you're not an entrepreneur, it's totally okay to just crush it at your W-2 job, and if you love doing that, then stay there. But I highly, highly, highly recommend that you're not just putting your money into the stock market where you get maybe 7% a year
or God forbid, crypto.
Or crypto,
Oh,
unless you just know so much about crypto and that's your thing.
Even then, it's just Elon Musk tweets something and all of a sudden you've lost like 3/4 of your net worth. It is an industry that is so poorly regulated.
I agree.
Yeah.
So real estate investing. When did you buy your first property?
So I bought my first property in 1990, and it was. You wanted the crazy story?
Let's hear it.
Okay, I buy my first property in 1990 from somebody who today is a good friend. But at the time, he's like, I understand you want to be a landlord. You want to start to invest in rental property. I'm going to finance the purchase of a property for you. It just happens to be a property that I own. So I paid $32,000 for a property that I sold 15 years later for $17,000. The very first day that I owned the property, I get a call from a dear friend. She's like, didn't you tell me that you bought a property yesterday? I was like, yeah, and I'm very proud. She said, didn't you say it was on Breck Street? I was like, yeah, it is. And she said, it's not 150 Breck Street, is it? I was like, yeah, as a matter of fact. She said, did you see this morning's paper? I was like, no, what's going on? My downstairs tenant took a steak knife and embedded it in the chest of his best friend on the front lawn of the property that I owned for less than 24 hours.
Holy shit.
That was my baptism into the world of rental property. And it was ugly. And so, and that was just a terrible investment. But, I mean, you're probably going to ask in a few minutes, like, what are some tips and suggestions? First of all, don't everybody goes, location. Don't buy in the ghetto. Just don't, because you'll never
avoid it. Yeah.
You'll never be able to extricate yourself from there.
Even if the cash flow looks so good, those numbers on paper.
Oh, the cash flow always looks amazing.
It does, and then you get into it, and you're like, shit. This is the quality tenants I'm dealing with.
Yeah, and you might have great cash flow, but your quality of life is just
Headache is.
You're buying yourself a headache. So that's one. Two, just remain tenacious. Just have the long view. I've grown this portfolio over the course of the past 34 years or thereabouts, and I've never taken any money out. Every time I get a check, I amortize. Early on, I was amortizing the mortgages at 10 years, 15 years at the most, just because I wanted to get them paid off really quickly. And it was for savings. So I didn't have a savings account, but I had to. For years, I drove the same red Nissan Sentra for probably about 7 years, and I had the same 2 or 3 or 4 blue button-down Oxford cloth shirts that I wore just constantly, all the time, for literally 7, 8, 10 years.
I love that.
And I had and so I bought my first. The place I just described was actually my second place. I was living in the 19th Ward in a 750, 800 square foot apartment. Above me, I had 3 or 4 bedrooms, and I was renting to U of R students.
Duplex?
It was a duplex.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's how I started.
Oh, okay. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. And so it's so great because they're paying your mortgage, and then there's a little bit more money every month, so you can then take that and apply it toward the next purchase. So then I bought a second, a third, a fourth. I was up to 6 properties that I had before I decided, okay, I'm going to move out of the 750 square foot apartment, and then I moved into an 1,100 square foot apartment. And I guess that's another lesson, which is just don't spend. Everybody wants to spend the money.
I know. Yeah.
Don't spend the money. Just defer. So I will say, I'll retire in 8 years, 10 years, something like that, and I will have a very, 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 very comfortable comfortable existence.
You could retire now, I'm sure, if you really wanted to.
Yeah, I could, but you know what? I wouldn't have the life that
Not quite at the-
I'm not quite
Yep.
where I want to be in terms of the things that I want to do.
Yep.
But I'm able to do that because I wore the Oxford cloth shirt for 8 years. I drove the Nissan Sentra. I lived in the 750 square foot apartment before I moved into the 1,100 square foot apartment. And only at the age of 32 or 33 did I finally move into a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. So
I love that. Delayed gratification is
So
really the word
important.
for it. And I think those who can push out the reward further and further and further are the ones who eventually get to reap the rewards in the future.
That's exactly right. And I'm sure, I don't know specifically, but I'm sure that is what you're doing.
It is. And I love the story about the car because I'm still driving my same 2016 Chevy Malibu, and I'm going to continue to drive it probably until the wheels fall off. And could I afford a nice whatever I want to get right now? Yeah, I could, but I'd rather use that money to either invest into my business, buy more real estate, just invest in my education skills.
Yeah. One of the great things about education is there's so much education that's available free of charge right now, whether it's the books that I saw on your shelf or the podcasts that we listen to or the audiobooks that we're listening to. But I want to go back because I'm just realizing I was able to buy my first house because I worked my way through the U of R by working in bars, dance clubs downtown. This is when you could actually go downtown, and people wanted to go downtown. Those days are long gone. And at the end of the night, I would take the tip money that I made, and it was about, like $200 or something, and I would take $8 and I would put it in my pocket, and I was always terrified. The other $192 or whatever it was, I would put into an envelope, and I was terrified because I would walk across the street and put it into the ATM, and I was always afraid that I was going to get mugged.
Yeah.
And the guys, I would like, come on, like, what's wrong with you? Come on, let's go out and let's get drunk. We're going to party. We're buying some Coke. And I'm like, no, I'm actually going to, you probably don't even know what Gitsy's is, but Gitsy's is this diner that was on Monroe Avenue. And I would say, no, I'm actually going to go to Gitsy's. And I would go to Gitsy's and I would get a feta cheese omelet with a side of hash browns and a cup of coffee. And that's what I would do with my money. And after 6-8 months, then I was able to buy my first rental property. And then the second and the third.
And all your friends at the time were like, what are you doing?
Well, yeah, and actually, you know what? And those guys that I was tending bar with, the few that are still alive are living in apartments that they're renting, but a lot of them have actually died. So sad stuff.
It is sad. But
yeah.
You knew what you were doing, and I think for so many people who are, like us, they feel you kind of feel alone a little bit because you're not normal. Because the normal person doesn't do that. They don't put money in an envelope and save for the future and buy rentals. It's just not what the average person does. So you feel alone on this journey, and I'm sure you felt that way too.
I love the fact that you just said that to me. I mean, honestly, I love the fact that, because that is, I used to feel alone. I mean, like, honestly, like, and so most of my friends were always like, I don't know, a minimum of 5, but most of my friends were like 10, 15 years older than I, because they were just more established. They were more settled. They weren't out like, looking for the next high. They weren't out looking for the next opportunity to party. And so I used to like really feel like there was nobody that I could talk to, nobody that I really had around me who I could bounce ideas around. So I love the fact that you're experiencing that loneliness.
Well, to that point, I think it's so important to find your tribe too, and find people like you to surround yourself with, because I'm sure you've heard the phrase, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I don't know if you've ever heard that before.
No, tell me.
The 5 people that you spend the most time with, whether it be friends, family, even people that you're in groups with online somewhere, you're going to be the average of those 5 people. Wow. Because that's the information, that's the words of wisdom that you're getting into your life. And I've just realized that joining mastermind groups and people who have similar businesses to me has propelled me up so much, because you're going to that level and they're almost reaching down and pulling you up, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I actually, at some point in time, I would love to introduce you to my executive coach, Jim Mahan.
I would love that. Yeah.
Jim changed my life. So, everybody hopes that they can find a mentor in life. And I had some mentors early on when I started in real estate. It was Gary Lowenguth, who was a mentor toward me. And, he was just so helpful, and a few other people. But I finally, I just kept finding myself going up against a ceiling, and I could not sell more than $36 or $38 million worth of residential real estate.
You were stuck.
I was stuck. I just couldn't break up. But I just knew through my reading and through other sources that really successful people, CEOs, they had executive coaches. So I hired Jim probably like 12 years ago, and he brought us up to like 84 million, and then it grew to 92 million. And he's just great. And I've introduced him to any number of other people, and they've all had the exact same experience.
Is he in real estate himself, or is he
no?
He's
just a general business coach. But he's awesome. He's a really great guy. So yeah.
Love it. How many total units of real estate do you own right now? Do you know the number?
Probably like 120 units.
And they're all in Rochester?
They're all Park Ave, East Ave.
Oh, man. Yeah. Best area to be.
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned earlier, I was living in the 19th Ward, and what I was doing, I was renting to U of R students. And after I had like 8 properties there, I had mentioned also that I was amortizing these over 10 years because I was buying them for $40,000, but I was bringing in like $2,000 per month in rent.
That's an insane ratio. Yeah.
And an insane ratio. But I had purchased over in the 19th Ward just before the U of R had completed the pedestrian bridge from the U of R campus over to the 19th Ward. Okay. And I knew there was going to be a market, so I just started renting to these kids. But then after doing that for like 8 years or something, 10 years, they were all paid off, and I couldn't stand like cleaning up the vomit from another keg party. So I sold them all, and then started investing where I really wanted to be, which is obviously in the Park Ave neighborhood. So
yeah, Park Ave is where I would like to find property. It's just so hard because nothing goes up for sale in Park Ave. Like if you want to find something, you got to go off market, I assume, right?
It is impossible. It's so difficult. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
So.
if you have any Park Ave properties that you're looking to sell, Mark,
Oh my! Well, I won't sell any of these. Like there was this great article. People can find it. There was a great article in the New York Times, probably about, I don't know, 10, 12, 14 years ago. And it was, I always found it to be so inspirational. It talked about these very, very wealthy Jewish real estate families in New York City, in Manhattan. And they started buying these properties back in the late 1800s. And one of the tenants, T-E-N-E-T, T-E-N-E-T, one of the tenants that drives these families is that they never sell. They never sell. They buy and they hold on. It just gets transferred generation to generation to generation. That's a fascinating article.
Yeah.
If you ever get the chance.
Yeah, and I mean, like Park Ave area, like knowing Rochester, those properties are just going to continue to appreciate, I would think. I mean,
Yeah.
unless we have a crazy down market, which Rochester as a whole, I feel like has never, like during 2008, did Rochester even take a big hit in terms of values or?
No, I mean, that was one of the things that was so interesting. So that was a period of time when Rochester real estate, in the decade or two before that, we would increase in value 3 to 4% year in and year out, year in and year out. And I had friends who had these burgeoning stock portfolios, and I was like, what have I done? And I was really I was really concerned and really upset that their stock portfolioos were just growing
Doing so well, yeah.
and mine, my portfolio was just not increasing in value. So when the crash, the real estate crash took place, we went down, but 3, 4, 5%. That was it. But a year and a half later, it just bounced back, and then we started trudging up. And now, I mean, post COVID, the past 3 years and 9 months, we've seen real estate values increase here in Rochester by about 57%.
Holy shit!
Insane. So this portfolio that I had, I mean, over the course of the past few years, I'm like, oh, okay, finally, I will be able to retire. So that's been nice. That's been really nice.
Yeah, and Rochester is one of the hottest. Is it the hottest market right now?
We lead the nation right now in terms of, this is single family homes.
Okay.
We lead the nation right now in terms of the delta between the number of properties that were listed for sale 5 years ago versus the number of properties that are available for sale today.
Okay.
We have 58.8% fewer homes available for sale today than we did 5 years ago. As a result of that, we're number one in the country in terms of the number of properties that are selling with bidding wars. 67.7% of all the homes in Monroe County sell within a bidding war.
Yeah.
And we're number one in the country in terms of the speed with which properties are selling, 9 days on average. So, yeah.
These poor buyers out there.
Oh my God! It really. In fact, I'm meeting with. I was finance chair for Adam Bell, the county executive, last year. So I put together a small group, myself and a few others who are involved in real estate, either building or financing. And we're going to be meeting with Adam and Bob Duffy, actually, beginning part of April, to talk about what are the barriers to creating more single-family homes that builders want to build.
Yep.
And what can the government, whether it's Monroe County or the state of New York, do to actually reduce these barriers.
And what do you think, just to give us a little glimpse?
So part of it is, it's sort of an interesting mix. I mean, part of it is as simple as this NIMBYism that's going on, not in my backyardism. And there are so many town boards and town supervisors who don't want, and because nobody wants a new subdivision in their backyard.
Sure.
So we need to start to exert some political influence on those boards. And there are, I won't go into too much, but we think that we've got a means to actually make that happen.
Okay.
I mean, something as simple as just pointing to the polls, which is, you think that the people in your community don't want this, and maybe there's a neighborhood with 250 homes or something, but the bulk and the majority of everybody else in the town does want this because it's creating a higher tax base.
Sure.
But then it costs on average $35,000, $37,000 to just prepare a site to build.
Expensive.
So how do we start to reduce that cost? There's no money to be made for a builder to build a $250,000 home, there's just no profit there.
Yeah.
So perhaps creating a pilot, payment in lieu of taxes. So just trying to bring down the incentivize builders in that way, and then finally, turn into somebody like Fahim Massoud over at ESL, who's sitting on a foundation with like $300 million. And creating philanthropic grants to first-time buyers so that they're getting, and Fahim, if you're listening, this is coming your way, bud. Creating these grants so that a first-time buyer can get a $25,000 or $50,000 grant to do enhancements to the property, so that the builder then has more of a financial incentive to build. So we're bringing all sorts of things to Adam, to Bob, to Fahim, to others, just to make sure that we're doing what we can to try and jumpstart a currently moribund home builders industry.
Well, good for you for trying to tackle that problem and being the one to really take the lead on it, because like I said before, I think the things you're doing, not just in real estate, but for the city of Rochester are profound. And, there's a lot of people with money in our city, and not everybody wants to make our city better. So I think you're one of the people who are, and grateful for that.
That's very, very, very kind. But, there's the old cliche, but it really is, with privilege comes responsibility.
Sure.
So there you go.
Absolutely. Well, this has been awesome, Mark.
We're not talking about Drake. I thought you were.
Oh, let's bring up Drake right now. For everyone listening, would you think Mark Siwiec is a Drake fan? I want to pose that question. When I heard you went to the Drake concert in Buffalo, I was astounded. And our team, quite frankly, we were all...
The team, not just
the
you,
whole
but the team.
As soon as I screenshotted that text message from Corey and said, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah. So
Drake fan.
Love music fan. Just love music. So I used to know everything up until about 3 years ago. I knew everything that was coming out. And, I knew music just back and forth. I just listened to music, 20 hours a week. But now, because business has gotten so much busier, I don't have the time to listen to music because I don't have time to read. So what am I doing? I'm listening to audiobooks and I'm listening to podcasts like you. But I'm shaving in the morning and I'm listening to podcasts or audiobooks.
Same thing.
Yeah,
maximizing my time. Yep.
You've got to maximize your time. You're stretching to work out. I'm listening to and I'm just trying to ingest as much as I possibly can.
Yeah, because as busy entrepreneurs, that's the only time when we're able to do it, and we got to find time to.
You 7 minutes here, and another 3 minutes there, and it does add up. It really does. Anyway,
totally. What are your big goals for the future? Any big goals on the horizon that you want to achieve, either on the real estate sales side, on your investing? What's next for Mark Siwiec?
Thanks for asking the question. That's a great question. So I opened up Elysian Homes.
Elysian. I'm sorry, it's not Elysian.
People pronounce it Elysian or Elysian.
Okay.
I did a video about that.
I saw that. Yeah. And most people did well with it.
Shockingly, shockingly well. And so both pronunciations are actually correct. Yeah. And so I basically use it as a vehicle for my existing team. But I would imagine that over the course of the next few years, we're going to start to grow it. I'm not interested in growing a brokerage with 200, 300 agents. If I get 25 really, really great agents, each of whom are selling 5, 10 million, 15 million a year, that would be great. That's probably where we're headed. And I really don't think I'll be buying much more rental property. I'll probably just pay off the portfolio that I've got.
Sure.
Those I think, it will probably start to grow because I've got the rental property that I do, and I've got property managers and a few other people. We'll probably grow a property management company.
Oh, really? Makes sense, right? Because you all have all the systems and everything.
And it's a page right out of your playbook, which is, well, we've already got the cameras, so why don't we just start to do this kind of video? Well, I've already got the infrastructure, and we've already got the knowledge, so why don't we just add, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
I love that. And your team right now, I got to say, they're just complete rock stars, and it's something that I'm trying to emulate myself, have just a tight-knit group that just, the camaraderie, and we just have fun every day, and it's cool to see.
You have the nicest guy. Honestly, they're such nice guys. I'd have a beer with any one of them. They're really good people.
Well, we should all have beers together at some point.
Actually, you know what? We should do that.
We should.
Yeah.
In fact, here, I've been thinking about, have a nice space here. I want to do a client appreciation or some kind of event where we just have people in here to network.
You should, because that has been one of the hallmarks and one of the reasons that we do so well, because we're very much like you. We're not a transactional organization. We're not transactional in terms of our business. It's really all about relationships.
100%.
And so we're constantly entertaining. If you were to invite me, you would actually be one of the few invitations from somebody that I'm doing. You'd be one of the few that I would actually go to. Like, I would actually attend your party.
Wow, well, thank you.
Because like we get these invitations all the time. Just like, oh Jesus, I would be there.
And I think we could throw a pretty good party up here to get kind of crazy, I think.
I'll do the playlist.
You'll be the DJ?
I'll be the DJ. Yeah.
You'll be playing Drake and J. Cole, and it'll be a good
J.
time
Cole.
up here.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe a
love
little
it, man.
Kendrick.
Who knows? Mark, thank you so much for being on. This has been a pleasure. For people who want to connect with you, what's the best way to reach out to you?
Call me 330-8750-330-8750. Or you know what? I'm going to regret saying this, but I do respond to like every email that comes my way.
Do you? You stay on top of all of them?
Oh my God, it's exhausting.
That's impressive.
But I do. So it's mark@marksiwiec.com. So that's MARK@MARKSIWIEC.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
Thanks, bud.
if you need a good agent, a good team, reach out to
Or
Mark.
just advice.
Or just advice in general.
Yeah.
Mark's your man. For those still listening, thank you. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.